Hello YouTube, Canadian Edge here, and we are going to do a knife review. And the knife with us today, it is from Civivi. It is the Civivi Incindie. And I like this knife, saw it. It's fairly recent release. I guess it's been out now for a couple months from Civivi, and they have different versions of it, but yeah, it's a nice knife. Anyway, let's look at the specifics about this. The Incindie has a blade length of 3.48 inches. Open, it is 7.95 inches. Closed, it is 4.47 inches. And the steel on this, it is a 14C28N with a spear point type blade. The weight of this, it is 3.82 ounces. The handles, we've got the G10 and nice pattern on there for a grip and that. The stainless steel liners, they are skeletonized to reduce the weight of it. Pocket clip on this, it is a reversible pocket clip, deep carry, and so that makes this ambidextrous knife, which is nice for our lefties so that they can use it as well. Use it comfortably. It is a button lock knife, which is a big plus for me. I like the button locks. And it does have a flipper opening. So quick little flip and it's open. It has cage ceramic bearings in the pivot, which make nice smooth operation. Works very well, and right out of the box it worked well. It does have jimping on the back here on this thumb ramp, which I really like. I like the thumb ramp. I think they did this very well. Works great for me, and I'm a fan of jimping. I like jimping on my knives. It does have a fuller on each side, or blood groove. Fuller, however you want to call it. It does have that on there to give it a little aesthetics and design. And it does have a bit of a finger choil here that you can use for different grip, but you want to be careful because you are right up at the cutting edge of the blade there. So yeah, use it wisely when you use it. So I like this knife. It reminds me a lot of the Cogent, and I'll show you here in just a second when I bring that knife out. But very similar to the Cogent in the handle and that. And Cogent is one of my favorite knives. But anyway, I like the style of this knife and what it offered. So let's look at some size comparisons and see just how big this is. We have the Ontario Rat 2. So this is not quite 8 inches in length, but it's a good size. We got the Benchmade Bug Out. So you can see it does have a bit of length. I have to get one of those pads with the squares on it, so it measures things out a little better and you can see size a little better. And some of the bigger knives, we have the Sencut Saxi, which is pretty close to the same size, just slightly smaller, not a whole lot. And then the Civivi Cogent, which I mentioned before. And you can see that it's slightly smaller as well. Well, pretty close. They're pretty much the same size. So, but you can see they are similar in the handles. And anyway, that's just means nothing. Whatever. Just something I had noticed when I first picked up the knife, and I had my son mentioned the same thing, that it reminded him of one of my other knives. Anyway, back to this knife. So the blade on it, it is centered, and there is no blade play left or right, up or down. It sits in there nice and solid, as all of my Civivi knives have done. So as I was saying before, I like the feel of this knife. It fits good in my hand. I like the aesthetics of this knife. The handle, I mean, it's nothing special, but it's just a nice, comfortable design. I like the pattern that they put on there. It looks good, gives it a nice aesthetic. And then the blade, what they've done with it, you know, it's a spear point type blade, but the fuller on there, the swedges up here, even the little thumb ramp and the way they've done the finger choil and that, it just gives it a nice look, I thought, at least in my opinion. So you're welcome to yours. You may or may not like it. That is totally fine. But for me, it's a good-looking knife, and I found it to be a very practical knife too. In using it, the ergonomics on it are great. I find that thumb ramp really gives me a good purchase on this. I can change up my grip a bit. It's very comfortable. Actually like the way they angled that back, because it seems to give you a little more control of the blade if you're doing finer work, maybe making kindling or something like that for a campfire, or even slicing tomatoes or whatever. It just seemed like it gave me a little more control over what I was doing. So yeah, I used it for different things around the house here and around the yard, and out doing little chores around the house. Great for breaking down boxes and things like that. So it worked well that way. The ergonomics were good on it. The pivot on this, nice and smooth, even out of the box. Had no issues with it. You can see it drops closed, which, given most button lock knives, that's the situation. It drops closed, but the pivot's very smooth, opens well, and no issues there. The ball bearing pivots work great on these things, so I always just do a drop of pivot lubrication on all my new knives, just because, whether I feel they need it or not. I just like to have the extra lubrication in there to make it work a little easier. So the grip on it, very easy to hang on to. I don't know if you can see that. Get a little closer to the camera. But yeah, the lines going that way and that way just make for a nice, comfortable grip, and very solid in the hand. It doesn't feel like it's going to go anywhere. Even if you were to get your hands wet, it feels like it would stay in your hand and you'd have good purchase of it. So like that a lot. That's always good. In the pocket, it feels great. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room. You know, it is a little wider than some of the slim ones, but it doesn't feel like a big bulky knife in your pocket, even though it is a pretty good size knife. It sits in the pocket very well. So had no issues with that. And one of my favorite things, and I'm glad that they did it, is one of my biggest complaints with knife companies is not making the pocket clip flush down at the back here. Civivi did that with this one. You can see it sits in there nice and flush. Even the screws are flush, so less wear and tear on the pocket. And I know it's not a big deal, but it is kind of a big deal to me. In the long run, it does do wear and tear on the pocket. So yeah, I like it when they take that little extra effort and make it flush, and you can see on this side they did as well, so that it'd sit down nice and flush. But it works great. I cut cardboard with it, had to cut a bunch of twine in that for in the garden and different little chores, and opening different packages and that in the house here and things like that. It works like a charm. Did a great job. Good point on it for getting in under things like packages and that. Blade did well. Speaking of which, we didn't do a sharpness test. Let's see what, after all that use, did I make it dull? Oh no, Still cuts through paper, no problem. The nice thing with 14C28N, those people that are familiar with it, it does hold an edge for a decent amount of time, but it's relatively easy to sharpen still. And so 14C28 is a nice steel. I like it. In terms of budget steels, I think it's one of the better budget steels. And the old zip tie, see how it does with that. Goes through relatively easy. We've got some paracord. Sorry, I'm sniffing a lot. I'm just getting over a cold. And through the fake paracord, it cuts that quite easily. And we've got some yellow nylon cord, and it cuts through that quite easy. So it does come with a good edge on it. And I found that too, like going through cardboard and things like that, that it cut quite easily through the cardboard. The thumb ramp I found gave me a nice extra purchase, so I could get that extra push going through the cardboard and that, and it works well. So you know, for jobs around the house and that, this would easily do that. I'm sure I haven't had opportunity to go out camping or anything with it to see how it would do in a campsite, but I'm sure you could easily use it camping and jobs like that, even on the work site. If you need a knife or, you know, whatever, opening bags or stuff like that on your work site, I think it's very durable and would work well for that too. So I would highly recommend this as an everyday carry knife. And in fact, I did carry it quite a bit and will continue to carry it quite a bit and use it for different jobs. And yeah, just found that it worked well and almost sliced my finger. Don't do that, please, people at home. Use a cloth to clean your knife blade off. And yeah, we all know that. So, but yes, I would recommend this as an EDC, everyday carry. And oh, I forget the price point. I'd have to, I will put a link to this in the description for anybody that's interested. But I think, if I remember right, here in Canada, oh, what do I want to say? I think they're around the $90 mark. I could be wrong. Sorry, I should have looked that up. But I will put a link to it, and you can check those out and see. So Civivi Incindie, and great knife, feels great in the hand, good looking knife, works well, good for an everyday carry knife, not an issue there. Would highly recommend it. So that's the Civivi Incindie. All right, that's it for this review. Thank you for joining me on that. I have other reviews and other unboxings coming up, and other ones posted. Hit the like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment. I will get back to you, and we will do this all over again with another knife. But until then, you stay safe and stay sharp.